So, Series 8. I'm very happy with it. I was getting very bored of Series 7. I think I'm in the minority there, but I think I'm also in the minority of being very pleased that the Restricted Legendaries are back. Mainly because the Restricted Legendary formats are my best ones. They're the only two formats that I managed to top cut the World Championships in. So, yeah, I'm very happy. And this seems to be the thing to do at the moment. Give our opinions based on pretty much nothing, because we haven't played these at all. But it would just be interesting to look back at how wrong our opinions were. So, I'm going to be going with the tier list of the Restricteds. So, we've got these just in order of generation, I guess. So, Mewtwo's going to be first. So, Mewtwo got a buff. It now has Hurricane. And Hurricane is max Airstream. So, that gives it something over Calyrex-Shadow. But really, you should probably be using Calyrex-Shadow most of the time. Mewtwo isn't 4 times weak to Ghost and Dark, so it can take some hits. But yeah, it's going to have to be something very specific that probably hasn't been discovered yet about Mewtwo that will make it usable over Shadow Rider. But I think it's still worthy of a B. Getting access to max Airstream, I think, puts it into B. Probably would have put it into C otherwise. Lugia is not going to be very good in my opinion. It lost its main niche of Z Tailwind into critical hit Aeroblasts. I guess you can still kind of do that. It already had its niche before the Z Tailwinds where you flung? Must be flinged, right? Because the move is fling. So flinged the Landsat Barrier onto the Lugia to get the 100% crits. But you can hold a Scope Lens, you can hold a Razor Claw, but it's not going to be strong enough. Like 90, it's 90 a special attack, isn't it? Or 95. It's less than 100, so it's super bulky, but almost certainly not worth. I'm going to put it into D, I think. I don't think Lugia will have too many notable placings. Ho-Oh, on the other hand, Ho-Oh has just got amazingly better. It's got Regenerator now, finally, so that's going to be super significant. And now it's got Max Airstream as well, so it doesn't even need to run anything like Tailwind. So it can just go for Max Airstreams, and you have space for Sacred Fire, Brave Bird, and Earthquake to be able to get the Max Quakes, while not having Tailwind, so you get to have Recover. / Roost. No, it's Lost Roost. It has Recover. But yeah, you don't need to try and decide, do you need Tailwind, do you need Protect, or anything like that. Don't have Protect. Roost is better than Protect, in my opinion, because that's the point of Ho-Oh, to just be able to take all the hits, especially with Max Quakes. If you get some Max Quakes going, then Recover is going to be much better than Protect would be. But Kyogre, everyone is saying it's S. I'm going to say it's S as well, because, you know, it's S tier. It's going to be very dominating throughout the formats. Choice Scarf is coming back, which is going to be annoying. Mystic Water will probably be more common than Choice Scarf. I don't think Scarf will be as common as it was in Sun and Moon, but the fact that we have to account for Scarf Kyogre now is annoying. And the fact that we have to account for instant speed change mechanics Kyogre, which is probably even worse than Choice Scarf Kyogre was. Yeah, it's going to be annoying to have to build around the Kyogre. Kyogre's going to restrict team building, just like it did in Sun and Moon, which is a bit of a shame. And I don't have Superior currently, which was my main Kyogre answer back in Sun and Moon, so I'm going to have to adapt. So we'll see how that goes, but it is just definitely going to be S tier. Groudon is awkward. I'm not entirely sure about Groudon, because Primal Groudon was busted, but regular Groudon, it still did well in Sun and Moon. And having the Drought to pair with, not Mega Venusaur, it's like with Gigantamax Venusaur now. The fact that Gigantamax Venusaur exists buffs Groudon. But, you know, it's not got its fire typing, so any fire moves it goes for isn't stab. It pretty much has to be physical, because it's got 50 less special attack than the Primal Groudon did, so you won't, at least you won't see any Eruption. Well, you shouldn't see any Eruption Earth Power sets. They will all be physical at this point. You would hope that they would be. I think it's between A and B for me. I think I'm going to put it high B at the moment. Venusaur being a thing definitely has a place for Groudon. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how the Groudon teams develop. Rayquaza just use Salamence. It's not terrible, but just use Salamence, because Salamence just gets max Airstream as well as Rayquaza does, but slightly faster. It gets Intimidates. Do you really need to be countering Venusaur that much to have Rayquaza over Mega Salamence? I would argue not. It's lost a lot of attack from not being able to Mega Evolve and it loses some of the bulk that it gains from Mega Evolving as well. It doesn't have the speed, so it's going to underspeed the base 100s. It's not going to be that great anymore, in my opinion. I would just pretty much always use Salamence instead of Rayquaza at this point. Dialga. Dialga is going to be A. Because of the max moves, it can have Flash Cannon and Earth Power. It will get some super boosts. Steel Dragon is an amazing typing, and it's going to resist Kyogre, which is going to be one of the main Pokemon in the format. So Dialga is going to be very strong in my opinion. There's going to be some significant Dialga teams popping up at some point. We'll just have to wait and see when they do pop up. Maybe when Kyogre starts dominating, when it's like, you know, a couple of days into the format, so Dialga will pop up to counter it, but Dialga is going to be very good. It's going to be very strong. Flash Cannon and Earth Power as coverage. It's going to be awkward having the fourth move, because in my opinion, you should probably always have Flash Cannon, Earth Power, and Trick Room, because Trick Room is another main niche of Dialga. And then, do you want Protect? Do you want Dragon coverage for Max Wormwind as well? Do you want Thunder/Thunderbolt to be able to hit Kyogres, because you're supposed to counter Kyogres? It's going to be an awkward one. Probably team dependent, so we'll just have to wait and see how the Dialga teams go, but in my opinion, it's definitely A. Palkia again resists Kyogre even more than the most out of pretty much any of these legendaries do. So it is going to be one of the prime Kyogre counters, but do you need to focus that hard on being a Kyogre counter when other things do exist that aren't restricted? It doesn't have the Waterium Z anymore, so Hydro Pump is always going to be that annoying 80% accuracy. I guess we've got Max Geyser now, so that would help it out a lot actually. So high B, I think, for Palkia. It's definitely going to have a place, but I probably won't end up using Palkia. I don't think Palkia would slot itself onto any of my teams at this point, but I'm sure there'll be some popping up. Giratina Origin. If Calyrex-Shadow Rider didn't exist, then Giratina Origin would have probably been a lot better. And saying that, like people say, oh, this Pokemon exists, therefore this Pokemon is bad. You know that people can only have one restricted out of all of these, and not all of them will be Shadow Rider. So Giratina is going to face a lot of non-Shadow Riders, but the fact that the meta is going to be it's going to have to be heavily against the Shadow Rider to try and counter it, that also counters Giratina vicariously through that. So it's not going to be as good as it could have been because of the Calyrex hate that there's got to be. So I would have probably solidly put it in B. At least the Origin form solidly in B. Otherwise, I'm going to put it high C, I think, because it's still going to be okay. The fact that you have to hold Grisius Orb is a bit awkward to be able to get Levitate and better attacks. Giratina just regulate. Is it going? Because it's Giratina Origin. Is it just Giratina? I guess it's just Giratina. But I'm going to put that in high D, I think. I've seen a couple of Giratinas that are weakness policy. It's as strong as Regirock is, so I guess, you know, anything Dynamax with a weakness policy is strong, and that would be the main set to go with Giratina, but yeah, probably not worth. Reshiram. Reshiram's an interesting one. Another one I'm not entirely decided on. I don't think it's going to be A. I think it's going to be high B, just on initial impressions. Having access to Max Fire to boost your sun, like to get the sun to boost your fire moves even further, is going to be quite nice. But any fire type that doesn't resist Xerneas is quite awkward. Like Dialga is okay because it's still super effective against it. Reshiram isn't super effective against it and doesn't resist it. Being able to Dynamax so that you survive the Moonblast now is going to be nice, but still going to be quite awkward. Reshiram is definitely still worth though, but probably not that worth. Zekrom though. Zekrom just used Dracozolt. Like, you know, it's the same typing. Dracozolt may even be stronger than Zekrom because of Hustle. Outside of Dynamax, Zekrom is clearly better. But seriously, just use Dracozolt. There's no point using Zekrom when you've got a budget mon. It's like a lot of, well, I say a lot of these. A few of these are going to have budget mon alternatives, which, if you have them, you free up your restricted slot. So like, say, with Ho-Oh, do you go with something like a Charizard? If you give a Charizard an Assault Vest, it's going to be close to as bulky, especially as Ho-Oh. So is it worth to have Ho-Oh over the Charizard, which could be freeing up a restricted slot. Could you, I was going to say Turtonator for Reshiram. That's definitely not a budget Reshiram, but you know what I mean. The budget Rayquaza, the Salamence, like you might as well have Salamence over Rayquaza. So just have Dracozolt over Zekrom and you're sorted. Kyurem Black, that is solidly A. I don't know why people are putting this low. It's as strong as Regigigas, and you don't need to have Weezing next to it. So, you know, Kyurem Black is going to be very, very good. It also counters Kyogre, which is going to be centralizing because it's got Fusion Bolt, so it's going to be able to resist and KO back, so it's going to be really strong. It's got Dragon Dance now. It's got a physical ice move that isn't Freeze Shock, that is worthwhile. Like, Icicle Spear turns into 130 base power as max, so it is worth. So Kyurem Black is going to be absolutely usable. So yeah, I'm probably going to be looking into Kyurem Black a lot myself because it's got a lot of potential and no one's seeing it at the moment. And that's what I like to do. I like to tap into unseen potential of Pokemon. Kyurem White, that's going to be slightly worse than Kyurem Black in my opinion, but I'm going to put it low A because it's as strong, technically, but it isn't a Kyogre counter because it doesn't have the electric moves. It has the fire moves, which are going to be nice to counter all the steel types that have to exist because Xerneas exists. So it's still going to be nice, and it doesn't get intimidated, but the fact that Kyurem can be a proper Kyogre counter, whereas Kyurem White only resists and then can just go toe-to-toe with it, makes it slightly worse in my opinion, even though it is special, which is better because Intimidate. But yeah, Kyurem Black is going to be good. Kyurem White is still worth. Normal Kyurem is not worth. Just move on. Xerneas, S tier, easy. Like, Dynamax now available makes the attacks probably not KO as much as they would before with all the +2 Moonblast and +2 Dazzling Gleams, but you can also Dynamax the Xerneas, so you get even stronger moves that may push that over the edge. So yeah, Xerneas is just obviously going to be S. Like, it will be S tier in pretty much every format that's available, unless the format is literally you're allowed Xerneas and then every other Pokemon has to be a Steel type. Like, it's going to be S, and it's going to be popping up. You have to prepare for it, else you're going to get swept easily. I'm not a fan of the Xerneas where you just fully commit to Xerneas is going to set up and sweep or I lose, where you have Xerneas and like all the support Pokemon. And people are going to probably fall into the trap of going Xerneas plus full support. You can just have a normal team and now you have a Xerneas that people have to account for. So that's going to be a much better team building way of doing it in my opinion. Don't try and focus so hard on Xerneas. Just have it as a Pokemon on your team, and it will be able to collect Geomancy and sweep some games sometimes, but don't truly focus on it, because the meta has to be very, very aggressive towards Xerneas. So, Veltal, that's going to be... A lot of people are saying S tier. You've got Moltres. It's clearly better than Moltres. But is it worth having over Moltres when you could have another restricted? If you're using a Veltal, it's going to be very, very solid. The fact that it can be physical or special is really, really nice for it. Like, you have Priority Sucker Punch, which is going to be really good against Calyrex-Shadow Rider. Probably OHKOs it. I'm pretty sure it OHKOs it with the Dark Aura. In fact, I'm just going to say it right now. Yes, it does, because I've done some calcs about things like Bisharp and Grimmsnarl, and Veltal will be stronger than that. So, would be a very nice counter to Calyrex-Shadow Rider. Much better, like, not much better than Moltres would be. Moltres is a counter, but Veltal's a better one, and it's just a better Pokemon. Is it worth having over Moltres, though? That's just what I'm interested to see. It's definitely going to be still very good. Like, a solid Pokemon. And probably is still S tier. But is it worth over Moltres? The answer is probably yes, but I guess we will see. Zygarde has lost Extreme Speed. It has lost Swagger on Finny. It is not a good Pokemon. But it's not D tier. Because, like, the coil set, if you manage to get the coil going, if you get a couple of coils, you could have already won the match. You'll win the match very slowly, because it doesn't do damage, but you will have made pretty much an unbeatable Pokemon, unless they crit through it, but the fact that it's 4 times weak to Ice does not help it at all, because of the Glastria/Ice Rider as well. So, it's not terrible, and there's going to be a team or two that pops up around Zygarde, like fully supporting the Zygarde, even though I just said I don't like teams that fully support things like the Xerneas. Zygarde is a Pokemon that deserves full support if you're committing to it. So, probably not worth committing that hard to it, but there we go. Cosmog. I top cut an MSS back in 2019 with Cosmog. My core was Kyogre Cosmog, and I got 4th place in an MSS. So, you know, Cosmog is clearly worth. I'm pretty sure it's not, but, you know. This one didn't win an MSS, but I'm going to put it just in this tier because, you know, Cosmog and Cosmo are pretty much the same thing. But outside of memes, just, you know, they're there. It's amusing that they're restricted. Solgaleo. This is probably the biggest one I have the problem with the budget Pokemon, I think. Because you probably should run Metagross and have another restricted. But then the fact that Solgaleo gets Trick Room is significant over Metagross. It's faster than Metagross and has Trick Room, which is amusing. And I think it's got slightly better bulk than Metagross does. Because of its really high HP. In fact, I think it's notably bulkier than Metagross. But is it worth when Metagross can do very, very similar things? I'm pretty sure that it has 2 more attack than Metagross, right? Because Solgaleo is 137 and Metagross is 135, so they're pretty much as strong as each other. So, yeah, I don't know. Sunsteel Strike is stronger outside of Dynamax, but you also have to Superpower, which drops your attack. Well, I guess Metagross has to Hammer Arm if it's going to fighting move. But Solgaleo really should be a Metagross, and another Pokemon should have Trick Room. I'm going to put it in low B, because it's still a Xerneas counter, but probably should use Metagross. Lunala, you probably should use Shadow Rider. If you're going with Lunala, like, I don't know, is Lunala even better than Dawnwings? Because with Lunala, the one that won Worlds was a Trick Room one. It has White Guard. Necrozma doesn't have White Guard. And White Guard is going to be a good move that should pick up again going into this format because of all the spread moves, because of Water Spout, because of the Astral Barrage, of Glacial Lance, things like that. You should be seeing White Guards pop up again. But is it restricted worth going for the White Guards when other Pokemon could go for it? Clearly it was, because that won Worlds. But then is that worth over Dawnwings Necrozma if you're going for Trick Room, or Shadow Rider if you're going for raw damage output? I think I'm putting Lunala in C. I think you should probably use the other Ghost Psychics, in my opinion. But I guess we'll see. See if White Guard is significant enough for Lunala. It does get Meteor Beam now, so I guess you could see some Power Herb Meteor Beam sets popping up on Lunala, maybe, because it doesn't have its Z move anymore. But yeah, probably not worth over the other two. Duskmane Necrozma. Ooh, that one's much better than Solgaleo. This is definitely different enough to Metagross. Like, not just the fact that its ability is different, because, like, Solgaleo has effectively the same ability as Metagross, but Prism Armor is significant. It lets it survive Shadow Rider. It can use the weakness policy much better than Metagross can, because you take the super effective hits much better. It can still Trick Room, which is a plus over Metagross as well. So yeah, Necrozma, I'm debating putting it into S, but at the moment I'm going to put it in the highest A, I think. It's definitely got a lot of potential. So I expect to see Duskmane pop up a lot. Not probably. It should pop up a lot more than Solgaleo does. And it definitely has a niche over Metagross, so it should be sticking around, I think. Should be significant in the format, especially because, you know, Xerneas. Necrozma-Dawn Wings, it's very different to Calyrex-Shadow Rider. If you've got Dawn Wings now, you've got to go Trick Room. That really wasn't the case back in Ultra Series. I guess there was that second place Japan Nationals guy that ran Lunalium on his Ultra Necrozma, but outside of that, every single Ultra Necrozma that made a significant placement, I'm pretty sure, was Ultra Necrozma, so that you could go super fast. But now, Dawn Wings should just be going for Trick Room. You can probably do it better than Lunala can. Lunala does have its Shadow Shield, which means it can take one attack better, but Prism Armor is still pretty good for that. It's also stronger. I don't think Lunala gets Earth Power, whereas Necrozma does. So, yeah, I'm gonna put it in B. Not in it, like, this isn't really ordered for B. I've just been putting it into B, I think. But yeah, I'll put it into B. It's going to be a very reasonable Trick Room setter, I think. This is not worth. Just use the other Necrozmas. That is obviously going to be S tier. They made a Pokemon that really wanted to counter Xerneas, and they managed it, but we will see how it goes. It's going to be interesting to see how Zacian evolves throughout the formats, how people are going to run it wrong. at the first month or two, and then they're going to realise how they should be running Zacian, but there we go, that's for them to work out. But yeah, it's going to be very good. And I think the fact that it can't Dynamax is actually a plus, because then it saves the Dynamax for other Pokemon, and it means that in your team building you can focus on Pokemon, like you can add Pokemon that really want to Dynamax, such as Dragapult, like say offensive Dragapult. I'm not saying you should have offensive Dragapult with Zacian, maybe you should, but Dragapult is the first example that pops into my mind that if it's the offensive variant, it really should be going for Dynamax. And like Phantom Force and Fly is awkward outside of Dynamax, but is very good in Dynamax. Zacian allows you to focus on that Pokemon is going to be my Dynamax Pokemon, because Zacian doesn't have to. So it's going to be very nice. It is also, outside of the Sun, it is the only Pokemon that can OHKO Calyrex-Ice Rider in its Dynamax form. So that is a huge niche, but I'm going to be talking about that in just a couple of Pokemon's time. Zamazenta, not worth. Just not... I don't think it's D. I think it's low C, because it's got some niche, because it's going to be one of the best supports that you'll see, but is your restricted worth that much of a support? Because it's going to be super bulky. Like, it's with the Dauntless Shield, it's going to have some very, very good bulk, and the fact that it's so fast with that bulk is very impressive, but it doesn't resist Xerneas, which makes it awkward. If it was a steel type that still resisted Xerneas, it would definitely be higher, but the fact that it doesn't definitely makes it awkward, and... yeah, it's going to pop up at some point. It may be better when we're back to 2 restricteds per team, because then you can have a restricted that is supposed to do the damage, and then the Zamazenta can support that very well. But at the moment, probably not worth. Eternatus. I didn't think this was going to be very good, but then I saw that Cosmic Power set, and that's going to make it very, very hard to kill. It's got pretty good typing, to be fair. It's a dragon that doesn't resist Xerneas, but it does hit it super effectively, again, but you can also Cosmic Power past the Xerneas. So, yeah, I'm going to put Eternatus high B, because the Cosmic Power Recover set is definitely worthwhile. It's a proper niche for Eternatus. But outside of the Cosmic Power set, I can't really see it doing too much. If it's offensive, it does have good offenses, to be fair. But, again, that one is, I think, more lacking in the fact that it can't Dynamax. Because if you were to be able to go for some Max Oozes or Max Whirlwinds to drop attack, that could have been a bit better, but Eternatus is the one that's suffering from not being able to Dynamax, I think. But the Cosmic Power set is definitely legit, and you should be aware of it, else you're going to lose as soon as it clicks Cosmic Power once. But, you know, it's still just a bulky setup that other Pokemon can do as well. Eternatus may be able to do it the best because it's got such high stats, but yeah, other Pokemon can set up and never die. So is that worth restricted? I guess we will have to see. This thing is clearly S. Like, people are saying, oh, its typing is terrible. Its typing's got worse from Glastria. Adding the Psychic typing makes it a lot worse. Yeah, have you seen its stats? It just doesn't die. Like I said, Zacian, outside of the Sun, is the only thing that can OHKO this thing in Dynamax. And it's got 165 attack that increases every time it takes a KO. Again, should you use it over Glastria? Yes, you absolutely should, because now it gets Trick Room. It can set Trick Room for itself, and that is huge for Glastria. Glastria is still going to be a Pokemon, for sure, because you'll be just going for budget Calyrex-Ice Rider, but the fact that it can self-set Trick Room is absolutely huge. And the fact that Trick Room itself, it turns into Max Guard when you want to be Dynamaxing this Pokemon often a lot, that's going to be very good for it. And it's got insane bulk. And the fact that it's got 6 weaknesses, I think it's 6. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 6. The fact it's got that many weaknesses is actually very good for it, because it's just probably the best weakness policy user there is at this point. And even if you don't want to go that route, if it's got a Life Orb, most things are being OHKO'd at that point. Because it's stronger than Regigigas, I'm pretty sure. Because you go Jolly on Regigigas, but you go plus Nature on your Calyrex-Ice Rider. So I'm pretty sure the fact, because it's 140 base power off the Glacial Lance as well, so I'm pretty sure it's stronger than Adamant or Brave. Ice Rider is stronger than Regigigas. And then again, you don't need the Wheezing to be able to do that. But yeah, this thing is going to be a huge threat. I've already seen some screen setters, and then literally, like, it just does not die. And it will take pretty much 3 KOs in its Dynamax if you let it. But yeah, this thing is going to be scary. And I think this definitely has contention for being the best Pokemon in the format, like restricted Pokemon wise. It's going to be interesting to see how it develops. But yeah, I at the moment I would put Ice Rider probably as the most S tier Pokemon. I think that's ordered for S tier. No, I think Xerneas is better than Kyogre. But then again, I'm slightly biased. But Shadow Rider, there's a lot of hype around Shadow Rider. Like, it's notably stronger than Spectria, and it's got slightly better bulk, but it does have the 4 times weaknesses to Dark and Ghost, and that does make it more manageable, because things can still OHKO it in its Dynamax form, because they're super effective. So, I don't know. There's a lot of hype around it. And my initial impression was to put it into S as well. But then again, I haven't seen many games on the Showdown Rooms tournaments at the moment. But I haven't really seen many Shadow Riders, and it may be overhyped, but I guess we'll have to see. Because you can still just use Spectria, and then when you face the Shadow Rider, you're going to be at a disadvantage because they outspeed you. Like, the 150 speed is very nice. Like, that is significant. That outspeeds Scarf Kyogre, so that is going to be very good. But I don't know. I kind of want to put it between S and A at the moment, but I'm going to put it lowest S because we will see. And then Calyrex is just, yeah, not worth. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see, looking back, because we've only got 3 months of this, I think. So it's going to be interesting to see what does well in all the grassroots tournaments, what does well in the Players' Cup 3 as well, to see how wrong we were with these tier lists.